is the Flex Network. Flex on everybody.
Oh, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Flex Network. I am your host, Flex Shane. You can follow me on Twitter at the Flex Network 1. I am joined by the season-long guru himself, Season Long Says, a.k.a. Alan Seslowsky. Alan, how you doing, brother?
What's up, dude? You caught me here. I'm retweeting out our link right here, so anyone that wants to join us live in the chat can do so. Shane, it's been a minute since you and I got into it together. We were rolling good over the summer, and then I was working with Matt a little bit. You were doing some solo stuff, but here we are, alas.
Here we are again on a Saturday evening for the people, because that's why we do this show. It's all for the people, and I don't know, man. Like it's been an interesting year. I would say that for the most part, I'm doing pretty well in my leagues. I have not been doing great in DFS. So I don't play a lot of DFS, but I've got this league with a bunch of buddies on FanDuel. And actually, I really recommend it for anybody who just wants a little bit different. So there's 8 of us, and every week there's like a different slate, and we've got different contests. And so it's kind of cool. So that this week it's a teams, so 2v2v2v2, and it's a Raz week. So basically, you've got to use your entire salary, but you're trying to go for the lowest total scores. So it's just, it's a little bit different. Every week, everybody kind of throws $10 into the pot. So it ends up being, we go through the playoffs. So at worst, if you don't end up winning, you can lose maybe 150 to $180, something like that. So
what do you mean you go for the lowest score? You try to get a 0?
So it's a Raz. So basically, you have to use your entire salary. With up, I think it's $300 in savings. So with FanDuel, 60,000, right, is your total salary.
Okay,
and the objective is to get the lowest total score. So it's not like this every week. Every week it's different contests, right? So for sometimes it's team and it's like a best ball. Other weeks we do majors where there's more money at stake, but you can win more money. But this week, by coincidence, it's a Raz week. And I think that's kind of cool because it's a different approach to the game. I mean, you're looking at players like, I had Zeke Elliott penciled in there as my running back because I didn't think he was going to be great. But of course, he's going to be out this week. So, it's almost counterintuitive in a lot of ways, but it's different strategy because there is some application to your season-long teams, right? Like a guy like Michael Thomas, obviously in season-long, you're starting him, but is he a good play in DFS? Well,
so what happens? What happens if you start a guy like that and he doesn't play?
The rule is the guy's got to play, right? So he's got to be active at the time, and you have to use upwards of, you can have up to $300 left in your salary. So it's challenging, right? I mean, having like a big salary dump like a Zeke makes it a little bit easier, but when Zeke doesn't sit, you still have to lock at least a few stud players in your lineups, right? And it's just a little bit different flavor. And I don't know, that's what we like to do, right? We had to show in the offseason just different ways to play fantasy football other than just your traditional season leagues. Obviously, there's DFS. We've got our thing going with Thrive Fantasy, promo code FLEX, of course. And just any way to play the fantasy football games, I think, more fun, and it'll make you a better fantasy player. So it's been interesting. I've been enjoying it, actually. I haven't been doing too great, though. I'll be honest with you. In this league, my friends have been sharps, and I don't know. I need to start following DFS Army, I think, a little bit more closely because
you're in our guy. You are a member.
I know I am. I got to start actually taking advantage of that stuff, my friend. But our boy Bobby Wow, he tied for first in the Millie Maker again this week or last week.
No big deal. Second Millie Maker takedown. Congratulations to Bobby Clinton.
Shout. Yeah, he was. We had him on the show last season after his big win, and man, couldn't happen to a nicer guy. He just got to keep giving us some of those hints.
Yeah, it's so funny. I saw on Twitter, somebody said, "Yeah, he just got lucky," and then Geek replied. He said, "The first time or the second time."
Exactly right. It's like, look, in some cases, yeah, you need a little bit of luck, but ultimately, when it's the same people at the top consistently, like fuck the Geek, even man, like the dude is good at what he does. He owns a business on DFS, and if he owns a business, you think he's going to be pretty good. So like it's kind of funny, like when we try to align ourselves with people within the industry, you try to align yourself with people that have similar understanding and beliefs and ideas, and ultimately products that you can support, right? And the Geek puts out a good product. Like DFS Army you see consistently people on with like at the top of those big contests,
Those leaderboards,
and
yeah.
at the leaderboards, exactly. So, Al, today we need to start discussing some real business, though. Okay,
Let's get to
and
it.
here's the thing. So we're entering week 9. There's a lot of probably teams that are right on that bubble. Maybe you're 5 wins sort of thing, 4 wins, and you need to make some moves to really get ahead. And one of the things I want to talk to you about is players that are either injured or potentially coming back from injury that we might want to target. So
Target for a trade, you mean?
Target for a trade, exactly. Players that aren't on your team that you think, okay, to help me get over that hurdle, or if you're a team that has a winning record, that you're willing to hold this player for a couple weeks, because some guys are coming back sooner rather than later. So I'm going to list off a bunch of players. Okay,
now we're talking we're talking redraft now, right?
Redraft, strictly redraft.
Got it.
And the important thing here is that in most leagues, the trade deadline is right around week 11. So that's only a couple weeks away, which means you need to start making moves now. And of course, playoffs is just around the corner, man. Like week 14 is not very far. You freaking blink and it's over. I think it's kind of crazy. Like we don't stop, but you spend so much time between February to September. We're like, oh my God, we didn't even know it was going to be a football season. We do. I say we, yes.
Yes.
And, most of our followers, a lot of our followers are pretty degenerate.
That's
like us.
true. But a lot of people were skeptical of an NFL season. If you go back and check our videos, we were of the opinion that the NFL was maniacal and there was no way they were not having a season. They were absolutely having. And as you saw that the other day, it was the Green Bay Packers versus a bunch of guys wearing the San Francisco uniforms.
Exactly.
That was a joke that Chris Liss used on the radio the other day, but I thought it was very apropos that, it's like, doesn't matter. You're a big 300-pound bouncer at some local bar. Here's a jersey. You're going in. I
think what's so crazy is that when the season started, right? I mean, if there was like a COVID case on a team, it was like, oh man, are we going to play this game? Now it's like, okay, if somebody comes down with COVID, you just assume that game's going to go on, right? Like,
I do. I always assumed it. So anyway.
I think it's wild, but okay. So this is what we're going to do, Alice. How we're going to format it, okay? So I've got some running backs, a few wide receivers, and 1 tight end that I want to talk about. I'm going to go through the list quickly, and I just want you to say, okay, yes, you would try to target them, or no, you wouldn't, and then we'll just go back and we'll discuss it a little bit.
Okay, so you don't want like a fleshed out explanation of why. You just want yes or no, or do you want one line?
Just yes or no to start, and then we're going to go back and we're going to discuss it. That way we have a flavor of all the players, and you'll have an idea of guys you really want to talk about.
So,
all right?
Do I want these guys for the rest of the season?
Correct. And are you willing to essentially go out and target these guys in trades?
Yep.
Is where this whole conversation is.
Price is everything, but
price is everything, but assuming that an owner is willing to part with them. Well, hey, look, maybe it's an Austin Eckler guy that is really struggling. And look, I traded away Nick Chubb in a league a couple weeks ago for Myles Gaskin and Chase Edmonds. And of course, Gaskin's on IR now, which kind of hurts. But that was a desperate team, right? So you're willing to sell a guy like Chubb. So let's get through it. Okay, so let's start with some of the running backs. Kenyon Drake, guy you're targeting in trade.
Absolutely not.
Not. Okay.
I'm
Christian
actually cutting him if I own him in redraft.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
Christian McCaffrey. 100%. I want him.
Okay. Christian McCaffrey. Okay.
I want Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. Ezekiel Elliott.
Are we communicating at the same level here? Like, yes for Christian McCaffrey?
Yes. Oh, yeah. We're going to go back and discuss. I just want to know what Alan Seslowsky is going to do right now. Okay. Okay. So Ezekiel Elliott.
I mean, the right discounted, yes. At value, no.
Okay. Nick Chubb.
Discounted, yes. At value, no.
What about Austin Eckler?
No. Stay away.
What about Miles Sanders?
Yes. Get him.
What about Chris Carson? Could be back as early as next week.
At value or 90% of value, don't overpay.
What about one Cam Akers?
No. I mean, unless the price is, unless it's $1 bargain bid.
Okay. And the last running back, Raheem Mostert. Again, maybe back next week.
Sure. You're not going to have to pay a lot. Absolutely.
Okay. So
where'd you differentiate with me?
Okay, so Kenyon Drake, I have to agree with you, man. I mean, Chase Edmonds has looked like the better player on that team the entire season.
Yeah.
When Kenyon Drake has the ball in his hand, he just doesn't look elusive. Like, what happened to the Drake of last year, man? It's so disappointing.
Well, I mean, listen, Kenyon Drake, the reason we liked him was because we saw a small but significant sample size in the football world, 5 or 6 or 7 games of him produce. We know in fantasy football that that's not. This pertains to a dynasty conversation too. Okay,
Yep.
Like right now, and I'll bring it back to your question about the Drake. We're talking about DK Metcalf as a locked in top 5 pick in dynasty. That's dangerous because it's still a small sample size. Now your eyes could tell you, hey, this is the guy. It's he should be locked in. But usually, if you want to get if a safe first round dynasty pick has 2 years of proven production. Now let's bring it back to Drake. Drake has had great stints of production, but not sustained over multiple years. So it's not a surprise that he's flamed out, that he hasn't looked good. I thought he would. I bet on yes. But unless a guy has 2 full seasons of sustained production, it should never be a surprise. What say you?
Well, I agree with you. But I mean, one of the things that you and I talked about in the offseason was it's also about the magnitude in which that those players are successful, right? And Drake had some absolutely monster games. But then again, the signs were kind of there last year too, where he also had a few games that weren't really very significant. So unfortunately, it's been kind of a dud, and it sucks because that Arizona team is exciting right now. So you
make a good point, though. You make a good point about magnitude, because let's bring it back to the NBA for a second. Let's use that as a parallel. If a rookie comes out and his first game he scores 60 points in basketball, it's not like, oh my God, he had one good game, let's see what happens. Like, no, that's significant. One game with 60 points in your first game, it's not, the size of the sample is minuscule, but the magnitude is large. So yes, Drake had pop games, but he didn't have, and they were amazing, but they weren't like out of they weren't 50-point games. They were 35-point fantasy games.
Right. So then Christian McCaffrey, you know what? Like, of course you want Christian McCaffrey on your team. I would assume the owner wouldn't really want to sell him at this point, but Mike Davis has looked very, very good. If you're the coaching staff in Carolina, are you just going to say, sorry, Mike, we appreciate your efforts. It was great, but we're going to give CMC 95% of the market share in that running back?
No, that's
field.
That's not happening. That's not happening.
Yeah.
So I think a reasonable projection is a 65-35 split, maybe a 70-30 split, and see what happens. Look, Mike Davis did what Mike Davis does. He looked good in 3 games and then not so good. But he's absolutely not going anywhere. I think that if anything, he's a 30% of the touches player.
Well, then there's also a guy that we've loved here at the Flex Network for a long time. I would say Flex Matt was probably his most the largest advocate of this player, but Curtis Samuel. You saw what he could do when you kind of put him in the backfield. You line him up all over the field. I worry that Curtis Samuel is also going to take away a few of those touches, especially those high calorie ones, right? Those ones that are in the red zone on the 5-yard line. Let me just say, look, Christian McCaffrey, the talent is there, but I'm just a little bit hesitant. And if I had to go and pay the Christian McCaffrey price, I don't think I'd be interested. But you buy him at a discount.
Yeah, and there's a re-aggravation risk too, right? Anytime someone comes back from a high ankle sprain or whatever it was, there's re-aggravation risk. So yeah, price is everything. I'm interested in Christian McCaffrey, but let's say, would you pay if you're the Christian McCaffrey owner, would you sell him to me for James Robinson?
I would.
Okay, so you'd rather have Robinson?
I'd probably have, probably. Maybe it's silly and short-sighted, but man, James Robinson has been productive. He's been very, very good. Although with Luton in the quarterback room, who knows how good that?
You think that matters? You think Luton's different than Minshew? Like that's what I'm saying. You think that's a major downgrade?
Well, look, so here's the thing, right? It's a bit of a tangent, but Jonathan Taylor, right? It's been extremely disappointing this year. But one of the stats that we looked at, because we like to get into the numbers, is that he faced on average 7.4 players in the box every time he touched the ball. That's number 1 in the league. And why is that? because Paris Campbell is hurt. T.Y. Hilton has been a dud. Phillip Rivers is the quarterback. So I just worry that teams are going to sell out against a guy like Robinson because freaking Luton can let Luton beat us. Let him try to beat us. So that's my only little concern, right? They have like you want an all-purpose back on any team, but an all-purpose back on a bad team, sometimes there's some risk associated with that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, again, James Robinson has been RB3 on the year. Pretty good. I mean,
is James Robinson a guy that you could trust in dynasty leagues? A player that you think is going to be productive going into next year, or do you think that Jacksonville's going to get away from him?
So it's a great question, and it's something that I've talked about with a few people offline. And what I think that an underrated and not discussed enough when you talk about dynasty is insulation. And what I mean by that, you can be insulated a couple ways. You have a contract, like Austin Eckler's insulated player for next year. He has a contract that's next year. Someone like Todd Gurley is not insulated because he doesn't have a contract or any guarantee money. So James Robinson is on a rookie contract. Right, he costs nothing, so he is 100% going to be part of the game plan. Does he have the only thing working against him is the draft pedigree? But I think that Jacksonville, with all the picks they acquired, they are going to want to address other needs. Running back is not a need they're going to address before the 4th round. So if you bring in a 4th round running back and James Robinson, I still feel locked. I feel great about James Robinson as a 2nd round redraft pick, and I can absolutely 100 times out of 100 take him in the 3rd round and expect 2 years of solid production as a 65% timeshare guy at minimum.
Well, and they still do have Raquel Armstead as well. I mean,
I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it.
But I'm saying in terms of like, they're not going to go and spend even like 3rd or 4th round draft capital on a running back because they, if they need just a guy, Raquel Armstead is probably a decent player. I mean, I was kind of falls. Yeah, I mean, if somebody falls, of course, right? But it's kind of, you feel bad because Raquel Armstead, he was first in line to really get to touches after Leonard Fournette was cut. But I mean, he had complications. He was in and out of the hospital because of COVID, and then they just a couple of weeks ago said he's done for the rest of the season. So you worry for a guy like that. He's not a huge fantasy contributor, so you don't really talk about him. But it's concerning, right? It just shows that that this is real. I mean, it can happen. This is a professional NFL athlete, and he's having issues like that. So it can happen to anybody.
Spoken like a Canadian. I love it.
That's right. Okay, so we're not going to go into too much detail here, but a guy that you said absolutely not on was Austin Eckler. Why?
Why no for redraft?
Why would you not want to trade for a guy like Austin Eckler?
Because I'm betting against him coming back healthy, and the Chargers' record. What are they? 2-5 at this point, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Right. So I'm gonna if they win 3-4 in a row and they're contention, sure, there's more of a chance that he'll come back, but. If they're 3-5, 3-9, 4-10, I mean, 4-8, I don't see why they would rush him back with a major role. Why are they gonna, they have him for next year. They're happy with Justin Herbert. They're just gonna reload and he could come back and have 8, 10, 12 touches a game, but I don't see him coming. I mean, listen, we were big on Austin Eckler as a top 15 pick, and it looked like we were right. The problem is we were wrong because of the injury. I mean, I know week 1 was a little shaky, but he busted out as soon as Justin Herbert got in there. Peace and love. And by the way, if the real NFL draft was to reshuffle again today, I mean, Justin Herbert, the 1.1 without even a question over Burrow, right? Not that this is not a knock against Burrow. I'm just saying what we know now. If we are redrafting today, Justin Herbert, fantasy, reality, 1-1.
I think Joe Burrow showed a lot of really good things right now.
Right.
But I think it's a very real conversation.
He did show a lot of good things.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert showed he looks like a mobile Dan Marino, lasering the ball downfield. It's like, put it this way, it's not surprising when Justin Herbert completes a 50-yard pass to a wide receiver that you've never heard of before. He finds those guys.
Yeah. And look, so this is so funny. I own Justin Herbert in one of my just single quarterback leagues, but in this league, I drafted Daniel Jones in the 3rd round last year, and he's not had a great season, but he's had a good season. And then I got Justin Herbert in like the late 3rd round in my single quarterback leagues. And it just shows that like these are, even
When
though
you say 3rd round, you mean a single quarterback redraft? 3rd round?
no, sorry, dynasty league, rookie draft.
And you
3rd
still
round.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Daniel Jones in a a rookie draft in a single
last year, yeah.
Yeah, those are the type of guys. Every
Yeah.
year, there's a guy like that you get in the late 2nd, early 3rd. And Justin Herbert was available in the 4th round of single QB leagues.
Yeah, I took him. I think it was like 3.8 is where I ended up
exactly
on him because I wanted to get him on my team. But yeah, I think that's really interesting. Okay, so Austin Eckler we're out on, and you know what, Al, I do agree with you. I mean, it's really tough. I own him on a bunch of teams, and he's sitting on my IR spot, and it's painful. But the truth is, Justin Jackson and Joshua Kelly have been pretty good, right?
Are you forgetting about our guy Tremaine Pope?
Get out of here with Tremaine Pope. Come on now.
He looked better than Josh Kelly, I'll tell you that. Even though he's hurt right now. Pope,
Joshua Kelly's had his moments. It's the Justin Jackson show right now.
Yes.
In LA. That's just the reality of it. Okay. I'm gonna go with one more real quick here. Miles Sanders.
Oh yeah, no, he's
got
rocking
after, right?
He's rocking and rolling. Rager's there. First of all, Travis Fulgham, right? And this is connected to the Sanders.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, cut by Detroit. They could use him right now, right? Cut by Green Bay. They could use him right now. I went back and watched some Travis Fulgham tape, Shane, and he looks like Kenny Golladay to me. The way he makes these acrobatic sideline. He is their starting X. So for just as much as we were wrong, we love J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Mm-hmm. They now have an X receiver heading in forward. Okay?
Yep.
I was wrong.
Yep.
Jalen Reagor looks like the real deal. I liked what I saw. And let's say they get Dallas Goedert back healthy. This is going to be a high-functioning offense. Miles Sanders is going to flourish. I'm absolutely in on him if you can afford to get him. And if his owner doesn't want to sit on him, go get him.
Pull the trigger. Okay, we're gonna go through just a couple wide receivers here, and we'll talk through them. We're not gonna do that.
Where are you on Sanders?
I'm buying him. Yeah, no, absolutely. When he's been on the field, he's been productive. I love it. Okay, so Michael Thomas. Would you take a gamble on Michael Thomas if you could go and acquire him in a trade on a desperate team that picked him at 1.8, 110 or something like that?
Well, in our most treasured league, the Banana Hammock Boys, it's a Superflex league. I just traded for him. I traded away Ryan Tannehill.
That's why I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, to me, it's worth the gamble. I have the depth at quarterback there. I'm feeling less great about it today than I did yesterday, but if he can help me in week 11, 12, and 13, and then hopefully 14, 15, and 16, it's a win. You know, what am I going to do? I mean, I'm not confident in it, and even if he comes back, if I was doing weekly rankings, I would probably have him at wide receiver 16.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's still Michael freaking Thomas, right? Like, look at Devontae Adams. He missed a couple games, but he's still just absolutely slaying out there. So,
yeah, we don't know he's not going to punch somebody in the face on the in practice.
That's true. What happened to Michael Thomas, man? Like, it seems like he kind of just got unhinged this year.
Hey, man, maybe he was always like this, and I guess it was kept in the. What happens is, high talent, high tolerance.
Yeah.
So that's generally the rule. So when he got hurt, and then he was, acted, the team just kind of got fed up with him from all the reports there, and who knows? I mean, Michael Thomas, he catches everything you throw at him. The worst, just think about it. If you drafted him in redraft and you're pissed off, you took him in, like you said, the top 7 or 8 picks. The only thing worse than that is doing what I did, was taking him at pick 5 in a couple dynasty startup leagues. I'm stuck with that sack, that worthless sack.
For now. But well, it's actually kind of funny. Our boy Flex Matt traded away Michael Thomas. There was a lot of players in the deal, but he traded away Michael Thomas to get DK Metcalf. But I think he traded Thomas and a first to get DK Metcalf, which it's a bold trade. But if you think that's in shape,
that's a good trade. That's a good. I'd rather have DK than the first than Michael Thomas.
Oh, for sure. Okay, so then another one that I'm curious about. Where are you at on Deebo Samuel right now?
I mean, for redraft, right?
We're talking redraft again.
Oh, there's zero chance. Zero chance I want him. No.
Yeah.
I don't want him. I mean, Jimmy G's probably out for the year. Nick Mullins is fine. Yeah. They're going to key on him if he comes back. Brandon Ayuk was COVID. I don't want anyone on that team other than, I guess, if Raheem Mostert comes back. Yeah,
Jarek
maybe Jarek
McKinnon
McKinnon
has
had a
been
good.
productive. He's
Yeah,
been productive. Other than
I
the
would not.
one freaking rest my legs week. I don't understand that.
Right, he has 50 carries on the year. He need to rest my. They're saving him for the playoffs, Shane.
Yeah, exactly. Although you know what though, like people forget, like he came back from 2 major knee injuries, right? So I mean, maybe the guy's body's just kind of just shutting down a little bit. He's what, 28 years old, 27 years old. He's
Kinda
not young.
Kind of like my body shutting down on me a little bit.
Oh
Yeah.
my god,
You
dude!
know,
I spent 2.5 hours raking my leaves this morning in my backyard. It was like because it was we had a little bit of snow last night, so it was kind of like heavy. I could like my shoulders are sore right now. My legs are sore. Getting old sucks, man.
that means everything works. You know, when it's sore, it means it works.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
no, I don't want any part of it. I mean, what are you really going to get? What are you hoping for? 15s? He's not like a 30-point type of
No.
receiver. You know, Brandon Ayuk is coming squarely into the circle of trust.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no way I would want Debo unless he was dropped. Then I might pick him up off the waiver wire.
You know, it's funny though. So 2 years ago, San Francisco suffered a million injuries. Last year, they had everybody healthy. They made it to the freaking Super Bowl. This year, a million injuries again.
This is unlike any other injured team I've ever seen, though. This is the worst.
So crazy, dude. It's so crazy. Okay, last wide receiver I want to talk to you about, Jamison Crowder. He was really good. He is really good when he's on the field, but he just hasn't been on the field very much. Again, a desperate team. If you can trade away, like, I don't know, even like say you got Tony Pollard for a week or maybe 2 weeks. Like, would you trade away Tony Pollard and you just need some wide receiver depth? And Crowder, especially in PPR leagues, you can plug him in as your wide receiver too, and you can be happy with that. Again, assuming he plays. What are your thoughts?
I like your thought process on that, but here's the problem. It's Joe Flacco as the quarterback.
Joe Flacco, yes.
Yes, exactly. Very, very smart comparison there.
Yes.
I mean, he's even below like the worst that Eli Manning was ever. I mean, Joe Flacco in this day and age, non-mobile, past his peak. I mean, even in Joe Flacco's peak, he was able to throw a nice big deep ball. Now only because of the QB situation. If Sam Darnold was healthy and playing, which he's not, then yes. But under these circumstances, there's no reason. But yeah, I love the player. I think that he's under contract next year. I think Philadelphia, the Eagles, should trade a significant pick, a 3rd round pick for him, and take on that contract. I think he'd be the perfect complement to that wide receiver core that we just identified.
How old is Crowder? Is he 27?
Something like that.
Roughly.
27.
Yeah, so he's a little bit older, but he's still got a couple of years. His game is not a deep ball game, right? He's a possession type wide receiver. And I mean, that's a really sharp call. I like that.
I'm with you.
Okay. Are you ready to get to some of our flex plays, our favorite flex plays of the week?
Sure. You know what? For the people that are new listeners, why don't we define what flex plays are? Define what that means.
Sure. So when we talk about flex plays, we're not talking about guys that you're pretty much going to plug into your lineup every single week. We're looking for guys, if it's a deeper league that you play in, it's bye weeks, you've got a lot of injured players, and you just need somebody to get you in a PPR league 10 to 12 points, and you're going to be happy. If they can get into the end zone, all the better. But ultimately, you're looking for that floor type play and potential upside that isn't going to just give you a big old friggin' 3 or just totally kill your week. Because look, you can have major players go off, but if you get like a 2 or 3 or even like a 0 in any of your positions, like that just kills you. So these are players that we think have good upside, players that are probably available either on your waiver wire or they're your 3rd or 4th option on your bench. And we think, you know what, if you play this guy this week, we think that they're going to produce for your fantasy team and help get you through these bye weeks, help get you to through the week for your injured players. So that's how we define these flex plays.
Yeah,
do you want to get started, Al?
Yeah, no, that's a great explanation. Someone that either you could pick up or that's on the end of your bench, that they're not rest of season plays. They are guys that you plug in this week. We already know this week is horrible for running backs. I mean, we're ranking Zeke. I mean, is Zeke playing? I mean,
Zeke, as of this morning, he is believed to be out.
Out. Okay,
he's not
good.
Officially out. He's still game time, but he's believed to be out.
So he's on the doubtful. He's on the outside of doubtful. Okay,
Correct.
all right, very good. Because I have in an important 14-team league, I have Tony Pollard. Boom, he's going in that lineup. All right. I mean, I don't want to talk about the obvious, Tony Pollard. So actually, I'm going to start with the wide receiver position.
Sure.
He was dinged up last week, but previous to that, he had a couple 100-yard weeks in a row. Tim Patrick is back, and he is, I mean, he's not a great player, but he's a professional wide receiver. Drew Lock, I like Drew Lock, but one of his shortcomings is he doesn't scan the whole field. From the tape I watched and from some smart analysts that I listened to, they said pay attention that Drew Lock, he kind of studies half the field, locks on, throws the football at the peril of some of the other wide receivers. Tim Patrick gets open. He knows how to be productive. I think that he was probably dropped in a lot of leagues. If you are desperate at wide receiver, if you missed out on Antonio Brown, you can absolutely pick up Tim Patrick, start him this week. And I think that 15, 16 points is not out of question, but I think 5 for 55, 10, 11 points is absolutely the floor for him this week. Tim Patrick, lock him in my first flex.
I love it. And of course, we're playing at Atlanta this week, which means it's going to be in the Dome. And Atlanta, for as much as their defense is trash right now, their offense is really good. Calvin Ridley's probably not going to play this week, but they still have Julio Jones. And yeah, I mean, if Denver wants to be participate in that game, they're going to have to score some points. I love that pick, Tim Patrick, and he is probably available on a lot of waiver wires. I want to say that he's available in actually the Banana Hammock Boys League, which is a very deep, very competitive league. So he's probably out there. I like that, Al.
All right.
Player that I'm going to go with is a player that I kind of wish I played last week in one of my flex leagues, but it's Jacoby Myers of the New England Patriots. And hear me out on this, okay?
No, I'm with you.
So, of course, Julian Edelman is out. It's looking like N'Keal Harry is going to play. He missed last week with the concussion, but look, N'Keal Harry, let's call it what it is. He's disappointing. He doesn't really seem to have any chemistry with Cam Newton. And Jacoby Myers, man, last week he had 10 targets. He caught 6 receptions for 58 yards. Not huge numbers, but that's 12 points in a PPR league. And that's all we're looking for right now. And they're going up against the Jets this week. I think that I think he's going to be good for at least 10 to 12, potentially for a touchdown. Jacoby Myers, he outperformed N'Keal Harry last year in camp. He was like the undrafted rookie that they got. And the thing I like about New England is they're going to play the best players. That's friggin' Damiere Byrd would kill me. And Jacoby Myers. I think Jacoby Myers is a safe play this week.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I think Jacoby Myers, he's been the guy that Cam Newton trusts in a peep. He's like the new Julian Edelman on the Patriots, so to speak. That's a really good play. He's definitely available on your waiver wire in your season-long leagues. Maybe not so much in your dynasty leagues, but absolutely pick him up and play him. So Shane, tonight's Wednesday night. Wink, wink. Tomorrow's the Thursday night game. I think you should pick up Richie James Jr. I have a feeling that he's going to go off tomorrow night. Oh no, I'm just kidding.
Whoa, wow. That was Bobby's
player,
captain.
Right? That was Bobby's captain. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. It's Saturday night. We already know Richie James Jr. is going to be the hot pickup next week. So get your bid dollars ready.
Maybe you shouldn't. I don't know, because you do your waiver wire column every week for DFS Army. I mean, Deebo Samuel's supposed to be back. Brandon Ayuk's supposed to be back. I think he's going to be a one-hit wonder.
Sure. And in your dynasty league where there's no one to pick him up. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. In redraft, you're right about that.
Hey, your boy Steven Sims, the jeweler, as the guru put it on our show here, he's off IR.
It's funny.
He's not my flex play. I'm just saying he's a guy that we love. And
yeah, I mean, let's see. I mean, it's there's a lot has happened since we were high on Steven Sims.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see. Second one, let's go to the running back position. Sure. And this is a player that's likely been on and off your roster throughout the last 2 years, and that's Brian Hill. Brian Hill over the Atlanta Falcons actually looked better than Todd Gurley. I wrote about him this week in my roster watch $0 bidding column. And the reason again, just on a yards per carry basis, which again is not like an amazing stat. I mean, sometimes a guy comes in, the defense is already worn down, and yes, sometimes it's 3rd and 15 and they hand it off on a draw play and the guy easily gets 8 yards and now his yards per carry is, but that's a negative play because you didn't get the first down. So, but just on an efficiency basis is looked better than Todd Gurley the last few weeks. Now, Todd Gurley is locked and loaded as the starter, but we know that Todd Gurley has, has had a checkered injury history. So this is a bet against Gurley's health. I still think Brian Hill could be started. He had 11 carries last week, Shane, and he looked good doing it. So I think Atlanta is going to, I think you can count on 8 to 10 carries again for Brian Hill, and maybe one of them is an end zone carry. He's athletic. He's in his peak physical condition. And in a week where running back is just horrible, I mean, either you have injuries or you're on bye weeks, I think that Brian Hill is available on your waiver wire right now if you're in a 12-team league, and you could pick him up and play him right now.
Well, I mean, Denver, they're a middling, rush defense. So it's not a bad play. Brian Hill. Yeah. I like it. Okay. So a guy I'm going to stick with the wide receiver position here. I want to say that he's a guy that you had on your waiver wire list this week, or I can't remember. Maybe you were talking about it with Flex Matt. Maybe it was with Geek this week, but Sterling Shepard of the Giants, I think is a nice safe play this week in your flex position.
And he might not be Golden Tate's not playing this week.
So is Golden Tate getting benched? Is that what they said?
There's some disciplinary issue going on.
Yeah, that's kind of bizarre to me because I mean last week he didn't do too much, but he got the touchdown. But look, Sterling Shepard, another guy who got eight targets last week. He got 10 targets. He caught 8 for 74 yards. And any given week, Sterling Shepard's the kind of guy that can get into the end zone. So again, a nice solid floor, probably 12 to 13 points. But this guy has 25-point upside, and the Giants are throwing the ball and I get that Washington is a pretty solid defense right now. I think that Ronald Darby is the most likely cornerback that's going to be covering him on most of his routes, but Ronald Darby's good, but he's still beatable. I project that Washington's probably going to win this game, which means that the Giants are going to have to throw the ball. Sterling Shepard, I believe you put it this way. He is a professional NFL wide receiver, and he knows how to catch the ball. When he's healthy, he's productive on the field. I think that he's a nice safe play this week. What do you think?
Oh, I love that. You kidding me? If I have him, I'm starting him. If he's on the waiver wire for some ungodly reason, you're absolutely picking him up and putting him in. Love that play. I think that's a high floor, high upside, 8 for 80 type of day. Love that play. Definitely get Sterling Shepard in your lineup. Let's go a little deeper with this next one, Shane. This is a player that, for some reason he's become my guy. And everyone's got their guy. Now, he has a 0 floor, and that's Albert Okwuegbunam.
Yes.
Okwuegbunam.
Alberto. Denver Broncos.
Okwuegbunam. Yeah, no, and the reason is that Drew Lock, I've gone over this a bunch of times, is that he is Drew Lock's college teammate. He was his most targeted receiver in the end zone and red zone. And again, he just, I know last week it didn't go well. He caught one pass for a touchdown, but it was a touchdown. So every time Drew Lock gets down to the end zone, I think that in a week where if you lost George Kittle this week and Jimmy Graham, you're not so happy, I don't really want to play Jimmy Graham. I think you can play Alberto each and every week, pick him up, throw him in there, and he's kind of like a young man's Darren Fells, where it's like, I don't think it's a 0. I'm talking about it's a desperation play. It's a high upside, low floor play. Is that a fair way to say it? And I think that if you are in the tight end, if you are in a tight end corner and just can't figure your way out of it, why are you going to play Mike Gesicki this week? I would play Alberto over Mike Gesicki.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because what's the difference if you get a 0 or a Mike Gesicki 4? I'd rather just play Alberto and know that I can get 2 touchdowns.
You know what kills me with Mike Gesicki? Because he was probably one of my favorite. I think it was both we both loved him.
Yeah, I loved Mike Gesicki.
And he has had so many red zone targets. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but every single week he's getting at least 2 or 3 red zone targets, and he just couldn't freaking take it in because he kept getting pass interfered. There's so many PI calls in the friggin' end zone, and that's one of the reasons why Miles friggin' Gaskin is having such a great year, because they had on the 1 or 2 yard line, and they were rushing them in. So very frustrating. It's hard to, as an aside, Tua, he didn't have to do much last week. Maybe this week against Arizona, he's going to have to do a little bit more if they want to stay competitive in that game. But Mike Gesicki, there's a lot of question marks. I don't hate it, Al. So what you're saying, because right now you've had a lot of Atlanta and a lot of Denver players, you're going the over of that 49 points over under in that game is what it sounds like.
I guess I am. That was, I didn't really connect those dots, but that's why I have you here, Shane.
There you go. Okay, my last player, he's probably not available on your waiver wire this week because he was probably picked up from the waiver wire. But if you're trying to decide if you want to start Jordan Wilkins this week, I'm going to say start him. And the reason for this is that, okay, Jonathan Taylor. Everybody knows I love Jonathan Taylor, and he's everything that makes me happy at nights when I'm thinking about fantasy football players.
I was telling you though, in the offseason with Dynasty, do not take him in the top 2 picks.
He's not looking great. He's got the ankle injury right now. Last week, Wilkins had 20 carries for 89 yards plus a touchdown, and he did get the 1 reception for 24 yards. And look, this week against Indianapolis plays against Baltimore, it's going to be a tough matchup, but I think that they're going to give Jordan Wilkins. Wilkins is going to be part of the game plan. I've got Jonathan Taylor in one of our leagues, actually in the Banana Hammock Boys League, and I am not sure if I'm going to start him this week. It's very skeptical. Like, you just worry that he's going to be active on game day, but he's going to get like 3 touches if anything. He's going to be like the backup. And
Jordan Wilkins or Ronald Jones, who would you start?
Jordan Wilkins.
Well, I'm saying that's a good barometer because a lot of people might have that option. They probably have Ronald Jones. They realize Leonard Fournette is now that's going to go back and forth for the rest of the season.
Yep. It's going to be frustrating.
They picked up Wilkins. They might have that decision. So that's good that you're telling them to start Wilkins.
Yeah.
So
I would start Jordan Wilkins.
Yeah, doesn't work out. Just email Shane.
Just email me at Alan Seslowsky. And exactly. So that's it. I just want to name just a few notable players that if you're kind of thinking about it to start them. So DJ Dallas, you have to start him, right? In Seattle, now that Carson and Hyde are out. Got to start DJ Dallas. DJ Chark, another guy that I think part of the narrative this week is that Luton's going to try to get him the ball and get Chark involved. So don't be afraid to start Chark. Darnell Mooney in Chicago, he's got some pretty good chemistry with Nick Foles right now.
This year's Darius Slayton, right?
He really is. Yeah. Unfortunately, I had to drop him in one league just because of bye weeks and all that fun stuff, right? But Darnell Mooney's a player that, again, if you're looking for a floor play, he's probably a good player to target. J.K. Dobbins this week, I want to say, is going to be a good start. Mark Ingram.
All right, how about this? Who will have more fantasy points in week 9? Dobbins, PPR, or Gus Edwards?
I'm going to put my money on Dobbins, I think. Right. Look, jokingly, I was saying that Gus Edwards is Jordan Howard. On your show this week. And I get it. Yeah, look, Jordan Howard is just a slug right now, and Gus Edwards is actually good. He's elusive. I like Gus Edwards, but we talk about the high calorie plays, and J.K. Dobbins, man, he's freaking elusive, and he's the one catching the ball. So just especially in a PPR league, I would put my money on J.K. Dobbins over Gus Edwards. Both good plays though this week, I'd say.
Hey, so that's a good. Are we done with football? Because I have a couple off the tangent questions for you. If we're done with football,
yeah, let's do it. What do you got
I'm just curious. So Shane, as you know, if you're listening to the show, he's in Canada. I'm here in Florida. What are Canadians saying about the U.S. election?
Well, we try not to get political on the show.
No. We're just giving observations.
Let me put it this way, okay, Al. I've got SiriusXM, and I've been listening to the POTUS station, which is one of your political stations. It's pretty much nonstop since Tuesday. It's been nonstop. I've the little ear pods. I've had it in my ear pretty much nonstop for the last week, and I never listen to any of these things. I'm not into politics. It's the drama, man, is so crazy. Like, you can't make this stuff up, and I just find it fascinating. Yeah. Just the rhetoric behind everything. Your president coming out and basically talking about how the system is rigged. Like, it's fascinating to me. I just find it very, very interesting. And
the world watches U.S. elections. I mean, that's a fact.
Of course, our boy Sapper Stud. We know that he's a big Biden guy. Sapper Stud's a veteran, right? So one of the big things is a lot of veterans supported Trump. Well, our boy Sapper supports Biden. I like that.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's just been very interesting. It's been very interesting.
Sapper Stud he's part of Antifa. He's the leader of Antifa. Yeah, so go get him on Twitter.
So it's been interesting. It's been very interesting. Let's put it that way. It's entertainment. There's great entertainment value. And look, man, I mean, as a Canadian, it makes a big difference what happens down in the US. It affects us very much so. Your policies do. So it's important that we follow these things. And look, again, I'm not big into politics, but Canadian politics are kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie to you. What
are we talking about? Justin Trudeau wearing blackface? That was amazing.
Oh my god! Technically, it was brownface, wasn't it? I
Was
think
it Brown?
was,
Okay, all
it was
right.
still racist, but yeah, I don't know, man.
That's
It's
not
been
racist. We're reporting facts here. This is real
no, I'm
news.
not saying you. I'm saying like brown face,
Oh,
black
okay.
face, both very, very wrong, very racist.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
We're reporting facts, not
Yeah.
fake
I
news.
mean,
So
again, the take I have on it is that again, it's the one thing that is interesting to me is that people are saying to, and again, I didn't vote for either of the candidates. I'll tell you that right now. Okay,
independent or what?
I went with the libertarian candidate.
Oh, of
I
course you would
usually
libertarian. You know what's funny? So again, I don't.
Joe Jurgensen is her name.
The libertarian platform is actually, I think everybody talks about more like a moderate type party. If you really
Yeah.
look at the libertarian platform, it's kind of a little bit more moderate, a little bit of both. That little
Yes.
Democrat, little Republican. Can I ask you guys your opinion? Yeah, one sec,
Yeah.
chill out. We will tell you in 1 second here.
Put that comment
But
up on
then
there.
the thing about the libertarians is that there's a lot of friggin' wacky libertarians out there. There's Alan Seslowsky, but it's just like
But
you look at
there's wacky Republicans, there's wacky Democrats.
true.
This is what I'm saying. Okay,
People are wacky.
by the way, if you have questions in the chat, just ask them. We'll get to the questions.
Yeah, go ahead and ask us. Chill out.
My thing is that, okay, like regardless of what you think of either candidate, there's good and bad things about both. Okay. The thing is that and my wife, she is hard left. She likes, Biden, the whole thing. But and she's like, Trump should just concede. Now, here's the thing that the only issue that I said to her, I said that after Trump won the presidency, the Democrats spent 3 years talking about the Russia scandal and let him have his moment of protest. Like
I told my wife that too. Like, so my wife's kind of been following. It's the same thing. I'm like, look, we like the Democrats talked about Russia basically rigging the election, and now Trump said it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing.
So just the Democrats should say, "Hey, let's investigate." All right. Anyway, let's get back to football for a second. Who would you? Okay. By the way, if you're listening to this on the audio feed, all of the good content is done now. We're just gonna go off the rails a little bit now. So stay with us if you want, but it's gonna get a little wacky. Who would you start between Thielen and McLaurin? I don't know. It's a good question. It's gonna be hard for you to decide. Chill out.
Look, okay, so I've got Thielen in one league, and he has been pretty darn good, but I agree with Terry. I'm going with Scary Terry right now. Terry McLaurin was named the team captain this week. The man is a leader in the locker room. He produces on the field. Kyle Allen is got chemistry with him. Terry McLaurin is the guy that you cannot bench. And look, if you can get Thielen in your lineup, I think you should try to force him in your lineup if you can. But if you have to choose between those two, I would choose Scary Terry as well.
I second that vote.
Cool.
Staying with the whole political theme. That is.
There you go, Al.
Snapper stud.
Oh, man. Okay, so Al, why don't you tell the people about where they can find your content, some of the things you're doing on the side, some of your side hustles, all that good stuff.
So at Alan Seslowsky, if you're watching on the video feed, you can see it. It's up on the screen. If you're on the audio feed, it's AlanSeslowsky. Play that back in 0.5 speed if you want to write it down. That's Twitter, Alan Fantasy Football on Instagram and TikTok as well. I know, don't laugh. TikTok is popping right now. Also, you can find my weekly column on Roster Watch, which is the $0 bidding, which allows you to pick up players after your waiver wire runs. That also has been over on Rotoballers. That's a new thing for me. Yay me, right?
That's really cool. See, actually, it's funny. What I do is I print off your $0 bid column, and that's what I use for my flex plays every single week. I'm just kidding.
Badoom. Yeah. There you go. Hey, Alan Lazard was on there this week. Pick him up.
Oh, guys, go and get him for sure. I guess he's under waivers now, but that's really cool. Yeah, Al, you're doing some really good content right now. And for people who don't follow you, that if you just follow the Flex Work, you have to go and follow Alan Seslowsky. He's going to be a riser right now. He's doing really great work with Roster Watch. They now have that crossover with Rotoballer. Obviously, all of his content at DFS Army. Of course, if you go and you get a membership at DFS Army, you've got the Slack chat, and that's, as you say, that's where the magic happens. You're in that chat room religiously answering all these diabolical questions.
I mean, these and again, by the way, I do not fault all the crazy questions. I know some people hate
love it.
questions. It's exhausting, but these are the questions that people want to know. Now, the other thing I want to announce here on this podcast, Shane, is Tuesday, I'm going to be back on the DFS Army podcast with a special guest. Back by popular demand, I'm going to be sitting with Jim Coventry on Tuesday.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yes, and I'm going to let him do all the heavy lifting.
Of course.
I'll just ask him the questions and fire him up and go. Jim is, for those of you who haven't heard Jim, he's over at, he's a regular on SiriusXM Satellite Fantasy Sports Radio. He's on RotoWire. I'll be sitting with him and asking him about all the best pickups for the week and his takes on the rest of the season.
I love it. So that's why I invite you, or that's why I always need to have you on the show, Al, because you do all the heavy lifting, and I just I ask the questions that I want to have answers to.
I don't feel that way, Shane. I feel it's very easy with you, and that
I love it.
You set me up, you spot me when I do my press.
Appreciate it. So of course, go give Al a follow at Alan Seslowsky. Give us a follow at the Flex Network 1 if you don't already. Check us out on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe. Just keep following us, guys. We're going to help you get to that championship. We're going to help you win a championship. And we'll just finish it there. So for Al, for Flex Matt, we are the Flex Network.
This is the Flex Network. This is the Flex Network. Flex on them. Flex on everybody. This right here is the Flex Network. Yeah.